Okay, so let's play PC Detective because just because I'm curious. Let's go ahead and zoom in. So let's see here. So this we have a PC we need to ID. Go ahead and start by zooming in and seeing what we can see. So right here, first thing. Alright, let's start. Well, first thing first, we see we have an EVGA M3 W3 power supply. Easy. A spinning disk drive right there. Graphics cards right there. And motherboard's right there, 2 sticks of RAM right there, technically in the wrong slots. They should be in slots 2 and slot 4. Technically. I think. But actually, you should check the motherboard manual on that. We have an Arctic cooler right there. It says Arctic right there, so obviously it's that. And that cord is running from here down to there, it appears, which in theory, it probably should be up here somewhere, I think. Or is that it running up there? I'm not sure where this cable's going. DDR3 mother RAM, which is obvious, but the best option here is to see that we got this guy right here, which is a GA-F2A-78M-D3H. So GA right there. I already Googled it because I already had that. So obviously right here's our motherboard, and we can check that once it loads. Yeah, that looks about right. I mean, obvious. It's not identical, but it's close enough. Close enough. So we know we have that. So now let's check here. So we have FM2, which is socket type. Yep. Oh, but the most important bit right here is socket FM2 type A series APUs. So we're gonna go find a fancy tool we have, which is called PC Part Picker, because it's fancy and it's great. System Builder, and I already have the proper thing right here, motherboard in here because I already chose it. But basically, you'd go in here, motherboard, and go. We already had Googled the model number here. We just grab this model number, copy, and drop it in here, and it'll sort it. We can select it, add it to our parts list, and it'll show up in here. And using this fancy tool, we can go ahead and choose the CPU. And this will list every single CPU that's capable with this motherboard. Now, the thing is, what we notice here is that we have 2 cores and 4 core CPUs with a varying amount of power, frequencies, and various things like that. I know it's this one because that's what they said it was. But we're just gonna go ahead and snip that over here and stick it right here for the time being. And we're gonna go in here. Like, okay, so we know it can be a bunch of different CPUs. Well, let's see if we can ID anything else. So, so the next interesting thing here, so we have an EVGA M3. We're not gonna really worry about that because that's not really computer related. We have 2 sticks of memory here, and we check our system builder, and actually we check this guy right here. Actually, does this say what type of memory it uses? You might need to go into okay, check specifications. This will generally tell you a little bit more. And so we have chipset AM3, the CPU it supports, memory, 4x DDR socket supporting up to 64 gigabytes of system memory. Okay, so DDR3 memory instead of DDR2 or DDR4, which higher number is newer. So choose memory, which this tool here auto sorts it to DDR3 memory only, which is nice. And we know we have 2 sticks. So if we go ahead and sort by, check this list out here, we see that we can have, oh wow, there is no 2x2. Does it really not 2 gig sticks? Well, this is obviously 1x1 DDR3. So it is likely to be, now if we expand the list, we can see here, we can choose, so we can see that there's 2 gig sticks, 1 gig sticks, and 8 gig sticks. 1, 2, 4, and 8 gig sticks. 1 gig, 2 gig, 3 gig, 1 gig, 2 gig, 4 gig, and 8 gig sticks. So the likelihood of it being, so it's likely to be somewhere between 2 and 16 gigs of RAM. Most likely not either of the extremes, judging by the fact of the type of motherboard it is, and it has 2 sticks of it. Most likely it's going to be between 2, 4, 8. But 2 is too low, so 4 or 8 is probably more likely. So 4 or 8 is probably more likely in this case. And the video card, though, that one is interesting because we don't see any identifying model numbers or anything. There is this sticker here, but we can't ID it, because the sticker's not unclear enough. Now, the interesting thing to note is that it has 3 obvious stripes right here, which you can ID that down to a particular model of card. Some other things that note that can help identify it here is it has an 8 pin right here and a 6 pin right here beside it. So that'll detonate that it's a higher end card because it requires more power. And if we take a note, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 memory chips. That must mean it's a higher end card as well, due to the fact it is so many memory chips. Now, we know the motherboard is an FM2, and so we know this is a higher memory card, higher graphics card because of the 8 memory chips and the higher power thing right there. So therefore, we can go ahead and assume it's more 4 to 8 gigs of RAM. Probably 8, but we can also assume from that the CPU underneath here is likely a quad-core CPU, because higher-end graphics card, higher-end CPU, dual-core over quad-core over dual-core. So that's how we can assume those things. To find out the exact model of this card, though, could be pretty interesting. So if we go ahead and take a look at the Athlon X4 760, and let's see here, when was this released? This released in Q2 2013. So let's go ahead and do fastest GPU of 2013. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's click the first link and let's see here. So he's 780 Ti and 290X. Okay, so that actually looks that's red and has single fan and looks relatively interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one here. Another one that's red. Gigahertz 770. Interesting. Mid spot, GTX 650 boost. Hey, look, another red one. Like all the red ones are best performance too cheap, $400, $290. Oh, for some reason one company has a lot of red ones. And the other company doesn't. Let's go ahead and take a look for actually, we can go ahead and go back to our fancy tool here, because this is how I did it, and choose video card. So we know that it is an older card, so it's less likely to be in this list, but we can go ahead and start by it's a PCI 16X because it requires 16X thing. It has 2 DVI ports, and you can actually see that right here. Those there, you can tell, are DVI ports that come out at the front. So it has 2 DVI ports, and let's see here. It doesn't. We don't know what any of these other things are. It has 2 expansion slots because you can tell there's 2 screws right here, held in by 2 screws over here. One there and one there, I think. Might not be able to see it, but there's 2 screws there, so we know it's too wide. We're not sure about the fan here, but most likely it is one of them. And it does not have any radiators because there's no radiators coming off of it. And we know it has 1 8-pin and 1 6-pin. So that tells us that it is a lot of graphics cards. There's exactly 3 pages. But we can go ahead and sort by black and red. And let's see here. Red and black. Red and black. There we go. So interestingly, we have a lot of these guys here. Okay. We happen to find one that looks like, where is... Interesting. So these are all looking interesting. Let's just go ahead and Google this model number here. Because these are clubs and they're not actual. So let's go ahead and Google this model number. Oh, hey. That looks extremely familiar. I mean, it's not quite it, but that's really close. Single fan, okay, interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's try a different generation. Let's go ahead and try the predecessor. Okay, we have to sort from a list here. Well, we know it was higher end, so most likely it was around here somewhere. Oh, hey, look, there it is. Shocker. We found it. Okay, so we know it's so we know it looks exactly like this. I mean, I don't know. Oh, and look, we also can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 DVI are right there. That might actually be 1 DVI. No, there's 2 DVI right there. And here's the back of it. Hey, look, that looks awfully familiar. Sorry, I'm just going on at this point. But basically, and okay, so we know it's Radeon HD 6790, or if we go ahead and go back and check the 6950, that is also pretty identical. 4x6 pin, okay. So in reality, it could be either of these. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go back. And we know, okay, so we know for a fact that even the cheapest one is going to be $300 US to start with. Okay, so therefore it's it's not a cheap graphics card. So therefore we know this is not a cheap graphics card. So, and that's how we kind of get our assumptions from the rest of this, is that this isn't cheap, because neither of the other parts in here are probably not cheap either. And let's check here. This was released in 2010, so it's 3 years older than the rest of the machine parts, which, I mean, not that far off. And if we actually check here, this is going by the first CPU seen on charts, which if we actually go ahead and Google the part number, let's see here. If we go ahead and look here, does this say it was release date? It does not. I want a release date. Oh, here, let's try this one here. January 2013. Okay, so GPU is a few years older than the other one. Okay, maybe they had a previous computer that they used it from. You know, could have been. And that is kind of how we assume various parts. Yeah, that's just kind of how we assume various parts. Anyway, 12 minutes. Oh well.